This is DeepCool's newest case in the CH lineup, the CH160, which sort of reminds me of the NR200, which released in 2020, which is compatible with MATX, ITX, and ATX motherboards. This case retails for $69 US or 95 Canadian dollars, which is sort of similar to the NR200 when it released. As you may know, my main case is the Form T1 version 2.1, a super small mini ITX case. The DeepCool 160 is perfect for air cooling like with their Assassin 4 air cooler. Unfortunately, there aren't any usable footage of me building the case because there were a lot of trial and error. I actually got the idea for this video from Machines and More, a fantastic YouTuber who actually did this build with the Atmos 240 and T30 fans. Please go check out his working content. I really wanted to max out this case's cooling capabilities by adding the two 125mm fans in the front and back that are intaking, plus the two T30s on the top that are expelling air from the case. Everything in my T1 build fit in this case like a glove, which is to be expected because the CH160 is double the size at 19.05 liters compared to 9.95 liters. However, I was only able to fit the two T30s in the Form T1 with a 3D printed mod, which is available on their official website, while the CH160 fits both of these fans naturally. I did have to remove the acrylic pump cover, which is about 2 to 5 millimeters too tall. I attempted to get an accurate measurement of the gap between the CPU and radiator, but it was really challenging because of the space, but I think it's about 5 millimeters. Without the cap, the pump block is about 43 millimeters tall. If you go with a cooler with a similar size radiator, then your pump block limit will be 48 millimeters. The dimensions for this particular radiator is 270 millimeters long, 119 millimeters wide, and 27 millimeters thick. And for clarity, this is the 240mm version. I'm using my modified DDR5 memory. These sticks have a clearance of 40mm. I'd say you have about another 5 to 7mm of space before you have any conflicts with the radiator, but I'd try to stay as low profile as possible. I can't speak for other mini ITX motherboards, but the MSI B650i Edge Wi-Fi has zero conflicts. The CH160 officially supports ATX power supplies, but it does limit the options for GPU a bit. I have the Corsair SF750 80 Plus Platinum. I recommend you stick with SFX if you want the most options. The custom cables from the T1 fit perfectly. The 12V high power cable is 350mm or 35 centimeters. The EPS cable or CPU cable going up to the top is 300mm or 30 centimeters. The 24-pin cable is 150mm or 15 centimeters. One of the biggest differences between the T1 and this case is that you can fit the GPU directly into the PCIe slot without any additional riser cables or latency. There are some improvements shown in the benchmarks later. The CH160 does support graphics cards with a maximum length of 305mm. However, DeepCool's measurements are extremely liberal, as the 4080 Super FE's dimensions are 310mm. There's even extra space at the end, which I use to route the front panel connectors around the GPU. I did have to do the Harlem Shake to get the 4080 to fit in properly. I would recommend that you install the GPU first before any coolers. You could get a few more millimeters if you remove the front dust filter, but I wouldn't recommend that. The cable management is actually pretty good. The custom cables help out a great deal. I don't have any other peripherals to plug in, but I do have the ARGB cable from the Atmos, 4 PWM fans, and the front panel connectors. The CH160 does have 3 dust filters, the top, front, and bottom. This is especially great if you have pets or carpet. The PC has been running for 3 days now and it caught a substantial amount of dust. I'm actually pretty disgusted. However, there is no dust filters on the back or rear sections. For the I/O, we have one 3.5mm headphone jack, one USB Type-C port, 2 USB Type-A ports, and a very tactile teal LED button. The CH160 can support coolers up to 172mm, like the beefy Assassin 4. They achieved this by pushing the motherboard back to the side panel, which eliminates a lot of space for cable management. For the pros and cons, this case does come with 16,000 screws, and you have to screw in each panel. I highly recommend you pick up a magnetized electric screwdriver that'll help you install this without dropping screws into your motherboard. If you're using a screwdriver like me, good luck. Although the build quality is pretty decent, it still has that stamped steel feel, unlike the CNC aluminum on the T1, but that case is $275, so the math checks out. Now for some pros, it is extremely affordable and offers a lot of component compatibility for the price. It has great fan support, and it supports a 240 AIO if you know how to do your research. For possible improvements, I'd love to see them implement a retention clip system for some of the side panels. I'd pay the extra $5 to $10 for this feature. As an enthusiast and a reviewer, I take my computer apart very often. For this price, having a front panel connector is great. However, I would love to see them use a one cable solution to route the cable through the back instead of each port having its own cable, which adds to the clutter. When planning this build, I intended to use the Noctua Slim fan to reduce clutter. However, the fan caused a lot of audible disturbances, so I went with the 25mm Noctuals instead. They have their own disturbances too, but much lower. I set the fan to about 50% fan speed, so around 1000 RPMs. For the benchmark, I'm using a Ryzen 9 7900X and the NVIDIA RTX 4080 Super. I'm using a custom 150 watt eco mode with a -17 curve optimization, and the 4080 is stock. All 4 fans, the Fantech T30 and the Noctua NF81225, are all normalized to 40 decibels.